Hey guys, in this video, I want to give you a few helpful tips for selecting a good quality mushroom supplement. Over the last 10 years or so, the popularity of medicinal mushrooms and the use of mushroom supplements has significantly increased, which is a good thing in my opinion. However, like most nutritional supplements, not all of them are created equally. Unfortunately, there are plenty of mushroom supplements and nutritional supplements in general that are not made to quality standard. And this is for a few reasons. The most obvious reason is likely related to money. To create a low-cost supplement, you have to be able to buy a supplement at a low cost. And usually the case is a lower quality supplement. However, this isn't necessarily out of an evil intent. My mother, for example, loves to buy supplements from the dollar store, and she thinks she's doing a really good thing for her body. So hopefully the placebo effect is just on her side or working in her favor. But nevertheless, there are plenty of people who like to buy nutritional supplements that don't cost that much money. However, me personally, and us here at VitaJing and plenty of people have a slightly different value system where they're more about quality over quantity. So if you're somebody who's a seeker of quality in this sense, then it's more likely you're going to find yourself faced with a higher price point product. But this higher price point is usually reflective of higher quality. And with that being said, there's another major reason you might find inferior quality products in the nutritional supplement world. And that has a lot to do with the processing and preparation. You see, there's a lot of science and chemistry that goes into making good quality supplements. When working with various vitamins and minerals, for example, you have to really know what sort of solvents and things to use to dissolve that product in to really make sure it's bioavailable and non-toxic. So there are plenty of inferior supplements in that way, which are not really considering the synergy between other constituents when they're making a multivitamin, for example, or if they're dissolving a certain nutrient in a liquid, you really need to understand what sorts of liquids dissolve best. For example, some nutrients are fat soluble. So if you're getting something like a curcumin or turmeric product as an example, and it's not dissolved in some sort of fat soluble base, like putting it into an oil base and taking that internally, then it's likely not going to be as effective. So this is just an example, but my point is there's a lot of science and chemistry that goes into making certain products or nutritional supplements. And a lot of the times, big manufacturers, where they're making stuff put in big box stores, they're overlooking these preparations and these methods, which could add to the cost of making that product and therefore result in a higher price point product. So not always, but a general rule of thumb, if you see a higher price point product, it's likely because it costs a lot more to make that product. So with all of that sort of out of the way, some of the groundwork covered, let's dive into some of the things to look for when making a good quality medicinal mushroom supplement, because there's a couple of different routes that you can take. First and foremost, you have your medicinal mushroom powders. There are some companies out there that make mushrooms that just grind up the mycelium, a little bit of the fruiting body, and whatever substrate it's grown on, which is typically some sort of organic grain or something like oats. So they sort of just grind it all up into a fine powder and they sell that. The problem with this is that, first and foremost, you don't necessarily know how much of the fruiting body you're getting, which is where you'll find the bulk of the medicinal constituents. You don't necessarily know if it's 100% fruiting body, if it's only 10%, if it's mostly mycelium, or mostly the grain substrate that it was grown on. You don't really know. The other problem with a ground up mushroom powder that hasn't been extracted properly is that those medicinal constituents are bound to chitin, which is a protein in the mushroom that is indigestible by the human digestive tract. So essentially, in a mushroom powder, something that's just ground up and hasn't been properly extracted, first and foremost, you don't necessarily know the amount of medicinal constituents you're getting from the fruiting body, and you also aren't getting something that's bioavailable and digestible. So generally speaking, if you see a mushroom powder, not to be confused with the extracted powdered mushroom, like we sell at VitaJing, then you're going to get something that is generally inferior because of three major reasons. First and foremost, it's grown on a grain or on something like oats, so it's going to be lacking in nutritional quality. Basically, it's not getting the right diet for the mushroom to thrive. it's also generally just ground up, and you're not necessarily aware of how much fruiting body you're getting, how much mycelium, and how much of the ground substrate you're getting. So it could generally contain a low amount of nutrition from that point. And then you're also getting something that's not properly extracted, where the medicinal constituents aren't bioavailable. So for those reasons, I don't necessarily recommend the consumption of ground up mushroom powders. Which leads me to some other helpful tips and things you're going to want to be aware of when looking for a good quality mushroom supplement. So the first thing you're going to want to probably look for is that it's organic. Generally speaking, that just means that it's at least not sprayed with added pesticides, herbicides, and grown in really low quality environments. If something is labeled organic in the realm of mushroom supplements, then you know it's probably been grown and cultivated at least in a higher quality facility with good quality control. And also you're not getting those added toxins. The other thing you're going to want to look for is when you're buying that supplement is that it's mostly used of or entirely used of the fruiting body. And the fruiting body is that visible mushroom that you tend to see and identify the mushroom with, and that's where most of the medicinal constituents are. So using the fruiting body ensures that you're getting the highest concentration of the bioactive constituents. And the third thing you're going to want to look out for is that you're getting a product that has been properly extracted. So when it comes to medicinal mushrooms, there are a few different categories of active constituents. There are beta-glucans, polysaccharides, triterpenes and triterpenoids, and other saponins that give the mushroom its medicinal effects in the body. Now the thing is that all of these constituents either need to be decocted or extracted using hot water extracts or some sort of water decoction, like making a very strong tea in other words, or they need to be alcohol extracted. So in many cases, if you're not getting at least a hot water extraction or an alcohol extraction, you're not going to be getting any of those medicinal constituents. In most cases, you're probably going to want a dual extracted mushroom powder extract or a tincture, so that way you're getting both the alcohol and water-soluble constituents. So to recap, there's three major things you're going to want to look out for when selecting a good quality medicinal mushroom. The first thing that you're going to want to look out for is something that is actually an extract. So you want to look for a mushroom extract, be it a liquid extract or a powdered extract like our products, as opposed to just a powdered mushroom. Those do exist, and again, we covered the reasons that they're not that beneficial for you. So the first thing to look out for is make sure that your mushrooms are properly extracted, be it hot water extraction, alcohol, or dual extractions. The other major thing you're going to want to look out for is a mushroom extract that uses the fruiting body, or at least mostly fruiting body, maybe with some mycelium added in. The reason for this is because, again, all of those medicinal constituents lie within the fruiting body. This is going to ensure a highly potent medicinal mushroom that's bioavailable when it's a fruiting body extract. And the last thing you might want to look out for is getting an organically grown mushroom, or more specifically maybe making sure that at least if it's not organic, that the facility is trying to replicate the natural environment of that mushroom as much as possible. So typically in organic facilities, not always, but it's a good sort of blanket statement that would probably indicate that the facility is growing that mushroom in an organic way. So it's more likely that an organically grown mushroom is replicating the organic or natural environment for that mushroom. For example, growing the reishi on logs, the shiitake and the maitake on logs, or maybe even sawdust, so some sort of substrate that mimics the natural environment as much as possible, so that way you're getting a good quality mushroom. And a good way to look at this is like, if you're cultivating a mushroom in a way that's replicating this environment, it's very similar to cultivating good quality grass-fed beef by having a 10,000 acre farm where the animals are pasture raised and almost living an entirely natural and wild life. Whereas consuming a mushroom product that was grown on something like oats or some sort of grain is more like getting some commercial beef where the animal was living off of grain, leading an unnatural lifestyle, needing an unnatural or unnative diet. So the last thing, again, to recap, is just to make sure that your mushroom product is grown organically and is grown in a way that at least highly mimics its natural environment. Now, of course, the other option here, maybe less practical for most people, but whenever possible, feel free to learn about mushroom foraging and go out into the wild and, hunt for your own mushrooms and make your own extractions. That's a really great way to do it as well and ensure that you're getting the highest quality mushroom. I've been fortunate enough to come across a couple of jackpot sources of reishi in my time. Turkey tail is really easy to find, and depending on where you live, chaga mushroom might be easy to find as well. Otherwise, if you're more interested in the more difficult to find mushrooms like cordyceps, lion's-mane, I haven't been lucky enough to find, but you can find it, or you just want the convenience factor of having something that's already prepared for you, keep in mind that foraging and processing your own mushrooms takes a lot of time. It's really fun, and I don't necessarily think the time factor is a negative, but for some people it can be an inconvenience. So for those of you looking for the highest quality mushroom to give you all these benefits that you hear about online, that you hear in these videos, that you see in the studies, then you're going to want to look out for these 3 things that we talked about in this video and ensure that you're getting a product that will actually have that effect in your body. However, that does bring this video to a close. I just figured that this information could be very helpful for everybody and give you a couple of very helpful tips, or just give you a little bit more confidence in purchasing, a good quality product. Don't be deterred by a higher price point when it comes to nutritional supplements, because more often than not, the reason it's higher price point is because that company is probably putting in a lot of time, effort, and energy into making a product that's going to give you the most benefit. So if you found this video was helpful and you've enjoyed it, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't yet already. And of course, if you're interested in learning more or supplementing with the various medicinal mushrooms, be sure to check out our blog and online tonic herb shop in the description box below.